Hello, everyone. This is ex Bethelite, and I want to make a statement, and you guys think about it. I always try to be objective and fair when I talk about Jehovah's Witnesses. I realize that this covers around 8 million ish people. So it's sometimes difficult to make a statement that will encompass all 8 million of those people, especially videos with regards to shunning extremism, things of that sort that may cover quite a few people, but that wouldn't necessarily encompass all 8 million people. You're going to have some people that bend the rules or break the rules, and will talk to their brother or sister who was shunned by that religion. You may also have people who, when it comes down to their child needing a blood transfusion, may break the rules and allow that because they want to save their child's life, not concern themselves with a God obsessed with body fluids more so than a person's life. However, that it's hard to put a number on how many people, are a little bit more lenient. I know from my experience in talking to people, there are so many people that can relate to the organization being such a pivotal thing that they haven't spent any family time together or any quality time. I constantly am talking to people who don't know close family members because of this religion. That encompasses a lot of people. So the far majority are affected by religious extremism, which is very much the norm with Jehovah's Witnesses. But now let me make a statement here, and you guys let me know if you believe this encompasses all 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are intellectually irresponsible. I did not say stupid. There are a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm sure, that are far from stupid. I said intellectually irresponsible. Why do I think that encompasses all 8 million members? I'm not referring to now this is who I'm not referring to. I'm not referring to the people who are awake, that are just attending because they know that they will be shunned, not for disobeying a Bible principle, not for being constantly involved with unbiblical practices. This is what Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you, that that's the only reason why they shun people. No, they shun people just because they don't want to be a part of their religion. For one, that's one of the many reasons why they shun people. The people who are in order to keep their relatives and friends and everybody from turning on them, I'm not referring to them. I'm referring to the people who are actual members by choice. Intellectually, You have to be irresponsible. Back when I was at Bethel and everything else, I was intellectually irresponsible. I didn't know very much about Bethel prior to attending, prior to going from Ohio clear to New York with my things packed. I didn't go visit and see what the room would look like and see where I'd be working and all. I didn't do any of that. Packed my things in my car, took off, clear to New York to go and serve at Bethel. Intellectually irresponsible. You need to find out what's going on. You need to find out once you get there, you're not going to have a job. Your car, how are you going to get services done on that? So on and so forth. What exactly do I need to bring? What exactly am I allowed to have? How large is the room? Am I going to even have a bathroom? I didn't know any of that. And I think the vast majority of Jehovah's Witnesses would have that same intellectual, it'll just work out type of a attitude. You have to be intellectually irresponsible to believe that the generation of 1914 would not pass away before the end of the system. Then when it doesn't happen, the organization you are a part of just changes the wording around and talks about overlapping generations. Whatever that is, it's different from what they said before. You have to be somewhat intellectually irresponsible to not even look into it, to not even think that that is, a wrong stance that was taken on something that was such a major belief held by all Jehovah's Witnesses. That takes a certain level of intellectual, mental, just irresponsibility to not even look into, okay, if they're wrong about something that major, what else may they be wrong about? To not even look into it when you're thinking about building your entire life around something. We could go into the Jehovah's Witnesses that chose not to get married. It's just a lightning bug, but it was flying towards my face. The Jehovah's Witnesses that chose not to get married because the organization told them the end was right around the corner. Let's say they're in their early mid-20s when they're making those decisions, when everyone around them is getting married and dating, and they're thinking, if the end of the world is right around the corner like the organization is telling me it is, what sense does it make then for me to get involved with the dating game and all that now? Let me wait until the dust settles and everything calms down. Well, once you are in your 40s and it still has not come, and you were told it was right around the corner, otherwise you would not have waited to get married. You didn't make it up. That's not the reason why you didn't choose to get married and and do things that other people were doing around that age. You chose not to get married because they counseled you about when exactly the end of the world would roundabout be here. Cut on a light here. Once you realize that they were incorrect on such a major thing, and you made such a major decision that affected your life about marriage and family, you have to be intellectually irresponsible to not even look into the religion. And is it possible that they're wrong about other things? If they were wrong and misled you about something that major. Schooling. If you chose not to attend college because the same organization that was wrong about virtually everything else I've mentioned thus far told you that the end of the world was around the corner, Armageddon was around the corner, and you don't want to be caught up in some university trying to study, and spending a lot of time preparing for tests and, spending a lot of time around people when the end of the world is right around the corner. What are you going to use a degree for anyway? The entire system is going to be turned on its head very shortly, as in, next few years or so. Well, all of us that did that, the end did not come when we were told it was about to come. And you could now be in your 40s, late 30s. And for you to allow that to just, just ignore something that major, something so major that it affects your everyday life. You're working someplace that if you had a degree, you probably would not be working there. You may be working somewhere making more money in less time. Less time devoted to whatever that employment is that you have because you don't have a degree, because you're basing these decisions on this organization. If it's misleading you, and it's misleading you in such a major way, it's intellectually, to not even look into it. Well, let me see what's going on here before I make any more decisions based off of this specific religious denomination. That's just irresponsible. It's irresponsible to, go in the house and leave your car running. You after so much time, you think that you would come back out and cut your car off. But if you leave your car running until the gas runs out, you left it out there forever with the keys in running. That's just irresponsible. Your car owner, you can't be that irresponsible. It's the same with regards to religion. And you're an adult or you have children, you can't be so irresponsible that something can affect you that strongly and you don't even look into it. You just leave the car running. I'm not even going to look into it. I'm not going to bother with it. If you were to tell someone that you left the car running, went in the house, went to sleep, and left it run all night to where the gas ran out, they'd have been like, you didn't know you left the car running? They would have given you that look to think, why wouldn't you even look into something as important as a car? Why wouldn't you even look into where's your keys? Is the car running, all lights on before I go to sleep? Well, religion and something you base your entire life and your children's lives around is even more important. So, if an organization claims that The generation of 1914 will not pass away before the end of the system comes. And they're wrong about that. It is intellectually irresponsible. You are an irresponsible person if you just ignore it. Oh, well, they're just overlapping, We don't really know what that means, but that's what they're saying now. And, well, we're just so happy that they changed it because, don't even go into excusing it. That is about as irresponsible, intellectually, just thinking, thought-wise. That's about as irresponsible, as a person can be. If I tell you that I'm going to come and pick you up Friday at noon, 12 o'clock, I'm going to be there to pick you up. And I don't show up and you're late for work and it causes a huge inconvenience. Well, the next time that I tell you, I'll be there to pick you up on Friday. And I just flat out don't come. And I tell you, how about Thursday? Thursday I'll pick you up for work. Next Thursday. About noon. And you just sit there knowing it's your job that's at stake if I don't come, and I just left you hanging. I said I was going to do something. I said something was going to happen that affects you majorly, and it did not happen. And you just sit there and wait for, me to come on Thursday because I said so. That's irresponsible because you're responsible for getting yourself to work. So you would think that you would look into maybe getting another ride since I was wrong about something that major. It's the same with religion. If the religion said 1975 was going to be the end and it wasn't, I've talked to people who were around back then and they said, yes, it's true. They were under that impression. They're wrong about that. They're wrong about 1914. So you're not going to question them about anything else? What about 144,000? Look at the scripture. Everything else was symbolic. But they used that specific number out of a scripture where everything above it and below it and in the middle is all symbolic. But that number, 144,000, we're going to take that literal. You're not even going to look into that? Saying that Jesus Christ is Michael the Archangel, that's major. That is major. That's a major move. That's a major statement. You're not even going to look into that? You are prepared to face your maker and give an accounting for everything you did, and you're going to explain how you told everyone that Jesus was Michael the Archangel and you didn't even look into it. I'm talking irresponsibility, intellectual irresponsibility with regards to not even looking into things and only reading what you're given from one organization to read. Of course, you're not going to get any information to the contrary if you're only reading one source of information. Of course, it's going to start making sense to you because you're reading religious material from one organization possibly every single day. If you're reading your daily text and your Watchtower and Awake and whatever the schedule of reading they give you on top of that, you're constantly hearing things from their slant. So you may not, under those circumstances, hear something and say, man, that sounds strange, because it's, if you're born and raised Jehovah's Witness like I was, it's what you've heard from childhood up. It's not going to sound strange to you. To you, it will sound normal. It's what you're always hearing, what you're constantly reading. You're only reading things from one source. Cut on the other light too. However, once something is wrong, such as when I went to Bethel and dealt with racism and dealt with being cast aside without any concern whatsoever as to where my whereabouts were, my health, or anything. To this day, I could be dead along the side of a ditch. Organization-wise, no one would have checked up. You know, my family would have known I was missing, of course, but I was not. I was serving the organization. The organization was then responsible. The organization totally cast me aside and others with no care in the world as to their well-being once they were done with them. After something like that happens, it would have been about as irresponsible as anything anyone ever did for me not to then stop and look into it, like, something's not right here. I say that I don't believe that all 8 million are full Jehovah's Witnesses. I think some of them are awake. Some of them are there because they're forced to be there because their family will stop speaking to them. Not because of them doing anything unscriptural, just because they don't want to be a JW. Just because they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. So some of those 8 million, I don't believe, that that's an actual number. But every last member is aware, unless you just became associated yesterday, should be aware that there is a teaching on the generation of 1914. Every single person should be aware that that was false. Every single person should be aware that that's major. Every single person should be looking into it. I guarantee most of them just, that is irresponsible. Catholics, Orthodox, these are people that have a religion that has been around for ages. I don't think that you're intellectually irresponsible to be a member of something like that, where your history goes back so far that if you wanted to look into it, you could look into it and you could trace things pretty far back and have a decent foundation that things have been established on. Just about every Christian denomination, you could look at it and intellectually you could make a case for it. The Mormons, you can make a case for that. Joseph Smith said he went in the woods and saw God. If he did, then that religion, has merit. The Scientologists, that's I don't know that that's even Christian. That's a whole nother thing, that whole auditing and whatnot, and classes to try to do better. Up until you get to a point where they actually tell you about Xenu and this crazy stuff, you could say intellectually the person could make a case for something that's kind of a pseudoscience. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, there isn't even a case for how the whole thing started. Because if Russell started it and then they went away from everything he taught, that didn't make any sense. So that the beginning of the religion makes no sense. Them saying that Jesus picked it and he was invisible and silent when he did it, it makes no sense. You have to be completely irresponsible. The 607 BCE date that everything's based off of is wrong according to everything that you look at. That has some scientific backing, some historic backing to it. If everything about this religion is virtually wrong with regards to any kind of proof that it is what it says it is, you have to be intellectually irresponsible, a completely irresponsible person to not even question something that begs to be questioned. You have Australia puts together an entire royal commission because of there being issues with child molestation, something that major. And it's not just going on in Australia. And the average Jehovah's Witness don't even if they have kids, don't even look into it. I mean, that's irresponsible. To have things that major going on and not even to look into your own faith to even test it out. You let me know what you think as to whether or not, Jehovah's Witnesses are irresponsible. The blood transfusion thing, people will let their relatives die and not even look into. This is really talking about medical treatment, or is it talking about pagan practices and eating and drinking blood and things like that, and coming up with reasons why people shouldn't do it? You're talking irresponsibility on a level beyond anything that I know of for people to not even look into their own faith. Now, granted, that faith keeps you so busy that you can't really, it keeps you so busy, constantly studying, preparing for a meeting, going out in service. There's assemblies getting ready to take place. There's people having to clean the assemblies before the assembly. Then they're at the assembly all day for 3 days. I mean, they keep you so busy to keep you from having time to question. However, as an adult, responsible for yourself, and if you have kids, your children, or if you're married, your family, it is irresponsible to not even examine your faith as to whether it is true or not. I don't mean examine in the sense that you're just reading and studying whatever it is that they give you, and if they say that they're right, then they're right. You let me know what you think. Does that statement cover all Jehovah's Witnesses across the board? Ex-Bethelite signing out.